In today's video, I'm going to show you all of the camera settings I use when shooting stuff like this. All right, now I'm shooting on Sony cameras, but a lot of these settings are not necessarily specific to Sony cameras. Some of them are, of course, but a lot of these you can transfer over to your camera system, whichever one that is. All right, no more fluff. We're gonna get right into this. First, we're gonna talk about frame rates. Now, I have an entire in-depth sort of detailed guide into how I use frame rates when shooting motorsports. So if you want more, I would suggest you go check that out as well. But here are the basics. For shots where the cars are moving, or if I wanna make them look fast, I'm shooting in 24 frames per second. For a lot of my static and hero shots where the cars or the drivers are not moving, I'm doing 60 frames per second. I shoot in 60 because it gives me the option to slow it down if I want without a massive sensor crop. And it also doesn't make the movement look super unnatural like it does in the higher frame rates. And lastly, when I want to show details of the car on track, or when I'm doing the super slow-mo stuff, I'm recording that in 120 frames per second. These are the 3 frame rates I use. Those are the situations that I use them in. My advice is don't be one of those guys that shoots everything in 120 frames per second. If things are moving and you're going to play it back at 100% speed, shoot it in 24 frames per second. Next, we're going to talk about the exposure triangle. For my shutter speed, I'm always using the 180-degree shutter rule, meaning that my shutter is double that of my recording frame rate. So if I'm shooting in 24 frames per second, I try to be 1/48 or 1/50 on my shutter, 1/120 or 125 for 60 frames per second, and 1/250 when I'm shooting in 120. That gets locked off and that never changes. That isn't something that I change to help with my exposure. If you get too much outside of that 180 degrees, the motion blur won't look realistic, so I always keep those locked off at 180 degrees. For my aperture, I always find myself being at my lowest possible point for whatever lens I'm using. That's generally going to be when the lens is at its absolute sharpest. It's also what gives you depth of field, which provides that cinematic sort of look. And if you find that when you have your aperture that low, that you're way overexposed, that means you need an ND filter for your camera. And lastly, for ISO, I always try to keep that at the native base. My Sony cameras have a base at 800 and 12,800. I'm using 800 all the time during the day or if things are cloudy, and I use the 12,800 at night. Now, there are rare times I'm either maxed out or don't have an ND filter on my camera, and I will use the ISO to adjust my exposure, but you're gonna get the most dynamic range possible with the least amount of noise possible when you're shooting in that native base. As I always do, if you like stuff like this, if you wanna see more sort of a peek behind the curtain at how I do my job, like the video pretty please. But seriously, liking the video is probably the biggest metric that I've found in helping this channel grow, helping it get in front of more people, helping more of us sit in here and have these conversations. So if you do like the video, please like it. And if you don't, I suggest you rewatch it. Also, I have a new microphone that if you follow me on Instagram, you know that my wife and I were in New York City and we stopped by B&H and she helped me test some microphones. I wanted to have something a little more, not podcasty, but I was using some shotgun mics and it was just picking up too much of the room. So we have a new microphone in the family. Now for codecs on my Sony camera, I am shooting in XAVC SI when I'm shooting in 24 and 60 frames per second. And I'm shooting in XAVC S when I'm shooting in 120 frames per second. The only reason I switch out of SI into S when I'm shooting in 120 is because I'm shooting on V90 SD cards because I'm too cheap to buy the nice big expensive cards, and I am not able to shoot in SI in 120 frames with the SD cards. XAVC SI is Sony's highest quality codec for the cameras that I have, the FX3 and the A7S III, so I would always recommend shooting in that if you have that option. But in either codec that I'm using, I'm always also coupling that with the highest data rate possible. Moving on to white balance. I am never shooting an auto white balance. These cameras do not do a great job when doing video in auto white balance. A lot of times you're panning the camera and the white balance can change as you start to pan. That stuff can really throw off a viewer, so I am always shooting in a locked off white balance. In daytime settings, I'm always using just the base preset daytime, which if you were to set a custom Kelvin temperature would be somewhere around 5600 Kelvin. I also use this setting when I'm in cloudy situations. I find that the cloudy preset makes everything a bit too warm and it's a bit complicated to get those colors right in post. So I leave it in the daytime setting. It does make everything a little bit more blue maybe than it should, but that is a lot easier for me to bring back in post. Now for night shots, you have to get a little bit more custom. Every light around every track is a little bit different, so you're just gonna have to look at the back of your camera, set a custom Kelvin setting that gets you in that barely blue tinted range. Some tracks have yellow tinted lights, some tracks have blue tinted lights, some are extremely white. It's just something that you're going to have to do on a case by case basis. Now moving on to my picture profile settings. Any shot that I've got with either my FX3 or my A7S III has always been in S-Log3. Now what seems to baffle some people is that I do not use Cine EI. I set my color mode to the S-Gamut3.Cine. I'm just used to using it. I was using it before Cine EI came out, and I find that I don't really have a reason to change. An extremely important setting when you're working in your color profile is to turn your detail all the way down to -7, which is the lowest it can go. In-body camera sharpening, especially on these Sony cameras, is extremely horrible. It makes everything look very, very digital. So I turn all the camera sharpening off in camera, and I add it all back in post. I use DaVinci, and I find their sharpening is far superior to what you find inside the cameras. Not only that, sharpening is a pretty tough process on the computer inside the camera, so I sort of feel like I am making it a little bit easier on the camera by turning all that sharpening off. I do turn on the gamma assist function, which helps convert the image that's on the back of my screen to Rec 709 so that I'm able to do a quick eye test check and make sure that I'm looking good. Now, moving on to a big one, autofocus. I'm using autofocus around 70% of the time. For 99% of those, I'm using a medium spot focus. With this setting, I can move my little box around so that it focuses on a certain area, or I can be in control of where the autofocus point is. Now, when doing cars, I'm usually in the center, but there are other times I'm filming B-roll or filming interviews. And for those, I want to align them generally on the left or right third mark. And also to help with that, I always turn the grid system on for the reference monitor on the back of the camera. I also have the face and eye detection set to priority. That way, when I do quickly go from filming race cars to filming people, the camera knows that I want to prioritize the person's face so that if they do get a little bit outside of my medium spot focus, it has a bit of a cushion to try to grab somebody's eye and keep them locked on to that person. Now, when it comes to focus settings, I'm usually at a 6 on transition speed and a 4 on my shift sensitivity. These are the settings I use when I have a clean shot at the car. That said, if I'm in a situation where I have things passing either in front of my car or maybe there's other cars going in front of my car, I'll change the shift sensitivity down a little bit, maybe to 2 or 3, so that it knows to stay locked onto my focus point if something passes in front of the frame. Now, when I am in manual focus, I make sure that I have focus peaking on so I know what my focus point is. Now, I have a lot of other sort of random one-off settings. I'm not much of a stabilization guy these days. I tend to not want to do any cropping on my sensor, so I am generally running stabilization all the way off. If there's a situation where I'm at 400 millimeter and I'm hand holding, I will turn the stabilization back on. But for the most part, I can do a lot of stabilizing in post, and that way I don't have any sensor crop on the camera. All of my custom buttons are pretty much stock. I have a white balance button, I have an ISO button, but one of the custom buttons that I changed that I think has really helped me out is what is traditionally used as a focus hold button on the lens. A lot of times I'm holding the camera or I'm in position ready for a shot, and I don't want to take my hands off position so that I can hit the record button. So I've changed the button on the lens to a custom option, and it triggers the camera to start recording. That way I leave both my hands in position at all times and I can catch the car sort of right away. Now, I do use zebras on a very rare occasion that I really need to check something. So I've got those set to 95 and generally off, but that way when I want to check something on a fly, I can turn them on and I've already got that set up. And that's pretty much it. If I was to go grab a brand new camera out of a box right now, those are the only settings that I would really be changing. If I could put a priority sort of on some of the settings that we talked about, it would be that I'm always shooting in log and I have my in-body sharpening all the way off. You would be amazed at the quality difference and the quality bump that you would get from having these two settings right. Now, if there's any settings that I missed or maybe that I didn't cover that you would have liked me to spend a little bit more time on, you can drop those below and I will answer those. Not an overly complicated video. This one's been asked a couple times, so I just wanted to have sort of get it out there on all the settings that I use. Loads of new stuff coming up on the channel, so if this is something that you're into or if you want to see more stuff like this, please hit that subscribe button. But until that time, we will see you in the next one.